Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of United Talks podcast. Today, we're going to be analyzing Michael Carrick's first press conference as interim boss, basically, as Manchester United manager and everything in between. Yeah, we're just going to analyze it. We're going to break it down and everything, and then just kind of tell you our thoughts and all of that. It's been quite a busy couple of days, so hence why I had to do the match preview pretty quickly. I think this was released on Wednesday or Thursday morning, whatever the case. So Michael Carrick has met with the media and it's raised a lot of eyebrows. I mean, I was supposed to do another video earlier with regards to what the ex-players like Class of 92 have said about Michael Carrick and stuff, but we will still get around to do it. But I just thought to bring this to you guys, basically to give you a sense of an idea what is actually going on at the club. But let's do the pre-match press conference analysis, and then we're going to build from there and basically talk about like what the ex-players had to say. We'll talk about that in a separate video, but just to give you this, he has met with the media for the first time since being appointed Manchester United head coach for the rest of the season. His appointment was announced on Tuesday, which was like a couple of days ago, and he's set to take charge of his first match in the role on Saturday against Manchester City at Old Trafford. It's the early game. I think it's the only early game, so everybody's eyes is going to be on that game. This media briefing was hosted ahead of the fixture, and it gave Carrick the opportunity to discuss how the opening few days in the job has gone, and basically his target for the months ahead. So we're going to analyze everything basically. What I've noticed over time is that the Manchester United board have kind of taken their time to try to be doing a lot of damage control and stuff. So we'll talk about this, we'll analyze it and break it down as we go. So first and foremost, the question was, how have you found your first few days? You know how those press conferences go. Surely the part one, they never ask anything about the game. They always talk about other things around the game. I know basically it's because it's the first press conference, so they're going to be asking questions about his personal questions with targets and stuff, and to get a sense. But the reason why we do, like I say all the time, the reason why we do all of these press conference reviews, to kind of gauge the temperature of the club, kind of gauge how the manager is feeling, kind of gauge how the club as a whole is, kind of gauge how the players are, the sense of the training ground and everything. But you know how these guys ask questions. But this is me. I haven't watched the video, but I'm just kind of getting a sense of the script and everything in between, and to say, you know what, let's analyze this script without any emotions and stuff, get a raw understanding or a raw objective understanding of the script. So let's keep it going. Now, the question is, how have you found your first few days? I don't know who asked this question. When we watch the video and we're able to do an analysis, we'll talk about who asked the question. He says, "Have you found your first few days, and then as a Manchester United head coach, and how does it feel to be sat in the chair today?" I mean, what do you expect? It's going to be proud and stuff, but it is what it is. They're going to ask rhetorical questions and everything. So his response was two different roles. His response was two different roles. Sat in a chair in front of you lot is very different to the role in coaching. Yeah. Listen, it's fantastic to be here. It's a great feeling to be in this position. I think I played different roles for the club and learned to fall in love with the club for so long, and it's a massive part of my life and has been for so long. So I'm fully aware of the position I'm in, so in so many different ways. So basically, just to analyze this first part of his response, he says two different roles. Basically, he's been a manager before at Man United, just interim, and then he's taking another interim role at Manchester United, and he's kind of like basically analyzing what his thoughts are and everything in between, and saying, oh, it's a privilege, but he knows what he's here for. He doesn't take it for granted, and everything in between. Now, like I said, he says he's eager to succeed, and then he says we've got a job to do. It's important. It's an important job, and it's an important job, and it is always is here to win games. Like it's an important job, and it always is here, to win games and to play well and to do it in a certain way. So I guess he's talking about the Man United DNA and stuff. So there's one side of it, and that's to be here, and the other side of it, you know, concentration and a real drive to improve the team and improve the results, right? So basically just giving you an overview of the aim of him being here and understanding what the role demands and what the role requires and everything in between. It's one of those things, but you know how these things go. So yeah, that was Michael Carrick's first response to the question about him, about the feeling of him being at Manchester United. Then he also talked about, the next question was with regards to success. How does this question relate to it's supposed to be a pre-Manchester City game, but it is what it is. Also trying to gauge the sense of the club too as well. So the question kind of makes sense for the context, if you look at it. So he says, "Hi Michael Carrick, hi Michael. What does success look like? Is it Champions League qualification? Is that what success will be?" And it's like, are they asking him questions around success in the role? If that's the case, then we have no problem. So yeah, I think improvement. I think certainly improvement and helping improve individuals. So he's not giving it out there to say, or putting out there to say, oh, that's what we're aiming. The aim is there within the club. Yeah, but he says, I think a big part of what I really enjoy is improving individuals. And in the end, I think if you improve the individuals, we can create a better team. So certainly working with the players and improving them with that, I think, and listen, results, that's what it is. There's an element of performance, there's an element of improvement, and there's an element of doing what it takes to win certain ways. In certain occasions. So certainly the higher up the league we finish. So he says, so certainly the higher up the league we finish, we want to keep pushing and finishing as high as we possibly can, and we will see where that takes us. So not giving much away, but just saying basically the aim is to finish as high up the league as possible. Not saying, oh, that will be successful to win Champions League spots and stuff, or Champions League qualification, or European qualification. But you also have to think about it from the perspective of where we are right now as a team and what the target is. Without actually saying what the target is, he says what the target is. So that's pretty much what it is. He now says, has there been any stated expectations from the leadership team? He just stated it in the previous question, asking if there have been any stated targets or expectations. It's kind of like a repeated question in another way, and that is what these journalists do. They tend to basically ask repeated questions every now and then, but it is what it is. So, question is, has there been any stated expectations from the leadership team? He says, no, not in terms of it. Not in terms of it has to be the way or that, like, more like not in terms of it has to be this way or that way. I think it's like I said, repeating what he said in the last question. We want to be near the top league. We want to be top of the league. And I mean, that's pretty obvious to say, but we've got to take some small steps towards that, and European football obviously would be a step forward, and we've got to keep pushing. Now, one thing I have to say basically from all of this whole response that Carrick has given is the fact that, obviously that video was, I think, 4 minutes and a few seconds, is the fact that they have not still asked any question with regards to Manchester City. But Michael Carrick is smart enough to kind of, repeat what they said. Now we'll basically gauge the temperature of the team basically when we talk about when we post the videos on our channel. But you can actually get a sense of stuff. Now they're going to ask questions. The next question is going to be very interesting about the leadership, Jason Wilcox and the Glazer family. But I wanted to say something, and I think I lost my train of thought while I was trying to think about what Michael Carrick said here and all of that. But if he comes, I will let you guys know. Now he talked about one aspect, which is which is what I'm going to talk about with regards to the question they asked him. He says, I was just wondering on the point of leadership. On that point of leadership, what conversations have you had with the likes of Jason Wilcox and Omar Berada? And I understand some of the Glazer family might have been here yesterday with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So what have those conversations been like? So are you trying to gauge? Because the first question is, I'm wondering what conversations have you had and what have they been like? So it's like, are you trying to get him to tell you what they said? Obviously, he's not going to say, but he said, yeah, I spoke to Jason, and I spoke to Jason an awful lot. I'm working closely with Jason and Omar as well. And over the last few days, we've spoken a lot, as you'd imagine. And yeah, the ownership group were in and around it. It was nice to see them and meet them yesterday and have a small chat with them. They've taken care of business in some ways. We were able to share a few things. So wished us all well, wish us all the very best, and it was good to see them. So basically not saying much, but just basically giving you an answer that, oh, I saw them, we talked, and they wished us well, and that's it. Next question was, Michael, I was going to mention to you when it's been one manager away and Ruben Amorim is still. Anyway, I know why, and this is the spicy part of the interview, the spicy part, but we're going to talk about it. So they said, Michael, I was going to mention to you when Ruben Amorim left, one of the things that he said in the last press conference was mentioning about Gary Neville and the players, and clearly Roy Keane has immediately weighed in. I know there's a personal element to that as well, so it's difficult. But in general, how do you feel about knowing that all these famous Manchester United players are going to put more pressure on you? This is the spicy part, and that's why the thumbnail kind of says what he says. He says they're not putting pressure on me. I don't feel that. I think it's just part of it, the role. I understand it. I understand there's plenty of opinions around, and some are positive, some are not. So some not so much. But I think in some ways, for me, in terms of you saying about putting pressure on, it's totally relevant in terms of me and how I go to work and what I focus on. So, okay, just to give you a bit of an understanding of this aspect, he said, yeah, they've had their opinions, some good, some bad. I mean, Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt, just crazy opinions. Gary Neville flip-flopping. We'll talk about that because I've done a full deep analysis on their comments and stuff. Yeah. And basically, we have to just talk about it. So he says, I understand the pressure of being here and them saying these things, and everybody has their opinion and all that, and it's totally relevant. But then it doesn't affect me because I know what to put my focus on. I kind of know, he says, I kind of know already what we want to improve on and how. So kind of pulling them back to the main focus. And you see, we've gone through the whole script of the interview and nothing about Manchester City. Everything's about outside noise, internal turmoil and stuff. But it is what it is. He says and how we want to work with the players, and I've already said about improving things. There's a lot of opinions, a lot can be said. It is the way of the world, and I'm not going to pay too much attention to most of that. And that's pretty much the same thing that Darren Fletcher said when he was here. And unfortunately, Ruben Amorim caved in because the board also caved in, right, to listening to people like Gary Neville on the opinions. I'm not saying ignore their comments, but listening to them and taking their opinions on board. And, you know, the rumor that obviously Gary Neville basically has been rumored to be interviewing managers for Manchester United. So, I don't know. Let's see what the Manchester United DNA and Manchester United way comes to when we face Manchester City. So he says, I'm not going to pay too much attention to most of that. I think it's not for me to do that. I think for me and the players and the staff, it's a focus on how we're going to succeed, really. And that's our job. That's our responsibility. That's what we are focusing on, and where our minds should be at is doing what we can for this club. Honestly, and the next question was, but that in particular is quite personal. It's quite personal. Yeah, well, what they expect to say? You want to say no, yes, or he said no. Honestly, it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me. So there's some personal message that Roy Keane must have said, which we might eventually talk about. But then it is what it is. So that's pretty much what they said. That's pretty much what they talked about. Nothing even with regards to injuries, but news came out. I think it was probably there's a post press conference interview that happens, and obviously it was Michael Carrick provided that update, and we'll see maybe when they do a part 2, but this is based on part 1. Michael Carrick obviously has provided the latest squad news ahead of Manchester United's derby game against neighbours Manchester City. The head coach held his first press conference taking the reins, and then Ahmad and Brian Bomo are also back. So this is basically injury update. Ahmad and Brian Bomo are also back from the African Cup of Nations, but Nuzai Majraoui is still bidding for glory with Morocco as the host take on Senegal on Sunday night's final. Shea Lacey suspended, obviously got the red card in the FA Cup following his red card against Brighton, but Harry Maguire made his first appearance after injury in the defeat to the Seagulls. Centre-back Matthias de Ligt remains sidelined as Carrick has confirmed in his pre-match interview with Man U TV's Zara Connolly. That's the person that actually basically asked the question following the media briefing. There is, however, hope that the big Dutchman will return to grass soon. This is what Michael Carrick had to say. He said, "We've had a good week, really," said Michael Carrick. Matthias de Ligt has been carrying a bit of an issue, but hopefully we'll get him back back in time in some time soon. He says it's been a little bit slower than what they thought previously. All in all, the boys are in good shape. I just feel the energy, whether it is fresh or not. Obviously, I'm delighted to be here. I want to work a certain way. I want to enjoy what we do and work hard to get success. The boys have put the work in this week, and we feel we are ready. So hopefully some positives come out of this, but it is what it is. Like, for me, I think just like most fans, I think we're very tired of this ownership and this board, and obviously the media pressure. They keep asking weird questions. I don't want to call the questions another name, but they keep asking weird questions, and it doesn't really augur well for whoever becomes the manager of Manchester United. But it is what it is. Let me know something in the comment section. We're going to be building towards Manchester Derby. But this is the pre-match press conference review of the game ahead of the Manchester Derby. Let me know something in the comment section about what Michael Carrick said. Obviously, like I said, we always do this analysis, and we can actually tell from their response that obviously these guys just don't want to ask reasonable questions with regards to the game. Everybody's just asking questions around, what's happening with the board, what's happening in the ownership. And like I said, I can totally understand their idea of, asking those questions to kind of get a sense of the temperature of the club, but just mix it with the preparation for the game, what to expect and all that. It gives the fans something to look out for, because the truth is they'll post the embargoed version around 10 p.m. UK time, which is probably somewhere around in some countries different times, right? And it'll be difficult for maybe early hours in different countries, and it'll be difficult for others to kind of get a sense of what is actually going on, and it's going to be difficult, but it is what it is. Let me know your feelings in the comment section. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.